Sometimes I just feel like cooking, even when I'm not hungry. If he won't eat it and I won't eat it, then what are we supposed to do? I know that our cat would be more than happy to help us solve this dilemma, but he's on a diet. So the only logical thing is to start a restaurant together and sell people our incredibly overcooked steaks.
I feel an immense amount of guilt for like any time I've ever sent something back in a restaurant.
So this past weekend, we picked a PlateUp for date night. When we started out, we took failure seriously and assumed that losing the business meant losing our lives. We've played enough hardcore games that we were ready to lose our save file or something ridiculous. It just goes to show how games have hurt us a few too many times. Of course, a lot of our anxiety was alleviated when we first got in the lobby and started trying on all the different costumes and hats. There we go.
That looks
the one
good.
that I wanted. Is this good with my little cat ears and...
Yeah, do whatever makes you happy.
I'm chopping the cat. We also got super distracted feeding our cats. We honestly thought that the cats were our first customers and that if we missed a beat, we were gonna lose the game. So we got right to business, cooking them filet mignon and whatever doneness they demanded. The cats want food and they can sit in chairs.
Oh my god, what do you guys want? Meat.
I'm a little ashamed at how long it took us to figure it out, but in our defense, we tend to stop using our brains when it comes to playing with kitties. So fast forward to 30 minutes of cooking and cleaning up after them, and one of us finally had the wherewithal to ask if we were playing the game correctly.
Do other, like, guests show up? Or is it just, oh my god, they're hungry again, Taryn?
How?
Has the game started? I can't tell.
I cannot tell if it started either.
They both want well-done steaks. We do not have enough stoves to make this happen.
Ironically, in a game about cooking, we learned that keeping one of us out of the kitchen at all times was an effective strategy. Do I not have like bus boys or something who can like...
You are the bus boy. You're the bus girl.
As it turns out, the mixer was a better assistant than the girlfriend when it came to preparing the food anyways. I'm not sure how useful it was having me sit at the counter and watch him do all the food prep, but it sure was fun seeing him get into his groove without tripping over me every 5 seconds.
I don't know what I would do without this thing, honestly.
Our communication was somewhat lacking when we first got started. Things started out simple enough when all we served was steak.
No. No. You don't understand. Oh my god, now this thing's full. Yeah.
Rather than the traditional well done, medium well, and medium rare, we refer to them as burnt, cooked twice, and still mooing.
Okay, I got you a burnt steak here. Extra crispy.
It was all fun and games until we started adding sides to the mix. That was around the time you started complaining that there wasn't a way to uncook a steak.
Oh my god, I'm burning the steaks. No, there's no way we're gonna get this many.
It's all good, it's all good. Just, he gave me the
You wanted a
charcuterie board.
charcuterie board.
When we switched over to making salads, things got a little more manageable. Just
Oh.
lettuce.
Actually, that guy's a good guy. Never mind.
We pretty much wanted to keep our restaurant as bare bones as possible because every time we introduced a new menu item, it was essentially the death of our business.
Oh my god.
Ooh, this is not what we signed up for.
Yeah, I was like, oh, it's just apples.
Adding an apple.
How much is this gift gonna cost me?
Words can't describe the pain in his eyes when we added apple salads as a menu option, thinking it would just be apples and lettuce. Well, let's do, we can do apples. I mean,
feel like
that's
apples
not as
wouldn't be that bad.
tricky as two things. Crack an egg and add oil.
Okay, that's
This is a
not what I
whole
thought
new
it was gonna be. I
recipe.
thought it was just an apple.
Jesus
Oh
Christ.
no. What the?
That's not what I signed up for. I felt him stifling the pain in his heart every time someone ordered that goddamn walnut salad.
What does he
We're
want?
about to find out. Why does everyone want apple salad? Once extra toppings like onions and olives came in the mix, the order started getting more complicated. For me, the easiest salad was when it had everything on it, because then I could just tell them the works. Today's specials are lettuce. Oh my god, one person wants
Everything.
the works. But ironically, that was always the meal that required the most work on his part. I sort of slipped into the bad habit of calling everything the works and then minus whatever topping they didn't want. I think his breaking point was when I told him they wanted the works minus the tomatoes, onions, and olives, to which he pointed out that that was literally just a plate of lettuce. The works minus tomatoes. It's probably just...
That wouldn't be the worst. That'd be onions and olives.
And I probably shouldn't say what it's
Everything
not.
will be the works minus everything. You want the works minus tomatoes, onions, and lettuce, please.
For him, there's not a moment of wasted time. From the second the first customer walks through the door, he's furiously chopping vegetables or setting out plates. As the orders start pouring in, I can see the stress start to bubble. It only gets worse when all 3 tables are full of hungry and impatient people. There are dirty plates, the floor is sticky, and he keeps picking things up in the wrong order. Their demands push that stress from a simmer to a boil, and we're just holding out hope that no one else comes through that door. I don't think he stops moving till the last customer finishes their meal and things lock up for the night. Meanwhile, I'm in the corner asking what we should rename our restaurant to.
Like, the fact that I have the mixer is like a godsend because it makes up for you just standing there watching it.
The mixer is your sous chef.
It's the closest thing I have to an assistant.
I don't know if we wax the floors too much or if we're both roller skating the back room. When we bump into each other in this game, we don't hit a brick wall, but push the other out of the way. It's especially dangerous in narrow spaces like doorways.
Yeah, if we fail to feed these cats, we will die.
Shit.
Apparently.
This is like life or death in the kitchen.
But
oh my god. This does not bode well. I don't know if we're turning into our parents, but the 2 of us just couldn't agree on a floor plan that we liked for the restaurant. Some of them are absolutely awful, with bottlenecks and choke points around every corner, so it shouldn't have been that difficult. The problem is that there's a lot more freedom than what we encountered in Overcooked, and having to choose between buying an extra stove or candles for the tables led to more than a few lovers' quarrels. You just see, like,
something about like me trying to do like just the ridiculous order that these things had to go on, and then see you just fumble to pick up a dirty plate.
If it were up to him, all the money would go to upgrades for the production line. But sometimes you gotta put a little money into making the place look nice too. Keeping the customers happy isn't just to give you the fuzzy wuzzies. It makes them more patient and buys us a lot more time when we screw up orders. Plus, you're not just keeping them happy, you're also keeping the girlfriend happy. I know that a dishwasher would really help out, but I think a painting would go a long way too.
I say we just get a painting and be done with it.
Okay.
Painting. It's on the wall there.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Okay.
There are ways to improve the quality of the kitchens and really streamline a lot of tasks, but man, the 2 of us are stubborn. It's somehow easier for us to just trip our way through a day than try and learn how to use a new appliance or piece of equipment. We must have bought the research desk 3 or 4 times before learning how to actually put it to good use. And even then, it sits in the corner gathering dust most of the time. Damn it, I actually made that sing.
Scrubbing brush, not necessary.
Moving the tabletops around to try and find the right configuration to make a functional workspace was both a chore and a dream all at once.
I'm gonna barricade myself into the kitchen right now. I think it's for the best.
Before we realized that things could be rearranged, the kitchen was an absolute nightmare to navigate. It was a labyrinth of countertops and appliances where each purchase felt more like a punishment than a reward.
I feel like it's fine, but I would rather have the dishes thing like next to it.
Yeah.
Because then I can just go like that.
That's really
probably
nice.
a lot better, actually.
Once we learned what was useful, we got ruthless with stuff and started tearing things out and throwing them into the closet to forget about. We may have gone a little overboard a couple of times and felt some serious buyer's remorse, but he was the one who wanted to barricade himself into the kitchen, so he's gonna have to live with his mistakes.
No!
What? Oh,
We didn't move that. Alright, well, we're rolling with it. We made our decision. It's time to live with it.
I never thought I'd catch flack for going too fast, but here we are. Early on, I ran into a problem where I was taking people's orders as soon as they sat at the table, and then before we knew it, we were all backed up and the business went under.
Oh my god, there's so many demands right now. Okay.
I don't know what the rain means. Like,
They're waiting out in the rain because they want to sit.
Oh.
They're gonna leave if we can't. Go, come on.
Oh.
You understand?
I do. Put
Take
that
the-
down. Put
It's
that down. You just threw me for a loop.
No, they're gonna leave, Taryn. Do you see?
My job.
You don't understand. They're gonna leave. You gotta get the plate off of there.
Oh my god, with the tray.
Okay, I got it.
As it turns out, the real strat is to let them just sit there for a little bit and really make sure they're happy with their choices. I was just trying to be a good server, but this is for the good of the company. Can you imagine a restaurant where the waitress walked up to your table and made you wait to take your order until she was ready? I'm just gonna torture them.
Imagine.
It's ready.
I'm trying.
Okay. Imagine if the waiter's just standing
stood there with your food, like staring at you.
Even though I spent a lot of time standing around waiting for him to do the dishes, he's the one who did most of the waiting. Since we both have to select new perks and start the new day, he was always having to remind me to ready up.
And once again, we're waiting for Taryn.
Oh. He'd just be sitting there staring at me, hoping I'd realize that everything hinged on me pressing A. But I'd be like, oh, he's looking at me. That's cute. Half the time, I've mentally chosen which one I wanted, but the signals just never made it from my head to my thumbs. I feel like we're okay.
Okay.
Oh, you're waiting for me. I already am seeing things. It's just like waiting to ready up.
Welcome to my life.
As the team's designated social butterfly, I worked the front while he was in the back. Aside from being a better people person, we figured the cute one would be more likely to get tips. It's still mooing. I'll admit, I don't think tips are really a thing in this game, but it's how we'd rationalize things in real life, so that's what we went with.
I'm terribly sorry for the waits.
Oh my god.
My girlfriend was
doing?
researching dishwashers.
He was on kitchen duty and I had floor duty, and sometimes I mean that literally, because these customers don't know how to not make a mess. I think I spend more time cleaning than actually preparing any food. Happy customer coming up. How did you get mess in here? We can't throw food on the floor in this one, but I'm not surprised. We aren't confined to the kitchen like we were in Overcooked, so I can't imagine the customers would be happy watching a restaurant treat food safety like a total joke. As fun as it was, it's nice to see that sanitation in our kitchen has improved since our Overcooked days. Don't kick that lettuce, I need it.
I hope the floor's clean.
We're running a much fancier joint nowadays, and keeping the food uncontaminated is a priority even if it's inconvenient. Here you go, sir.
Slap it on the table.
With my bare hands.
Enjoy.
With that being said, counter space is a coveted and limited resource. To his benefit, the girlfriend works as a portable countertop. When he doesn't have room to place something important, he can always rely on me to hold it aloft and place it back down when he needs it. It's just important that he doesn't forget that I'm holding something, because my only real downside is I can only hold one thing at a time. Can't put down the tray.
You look really funny. Okay, take those to those guys. And we got two other geeks over there.
Oh, I can put down the tray. When things are so mismanaged that all the counters are full, including the girlfriend, I think the writing's on the wall for the death of our business.
Okay, I appreciate you trying to put plates out, but now I can't. Oh no, I can already see how this is gonna complicate things. So there's that one. Go ahead and take that one to someone. I will pick this up, put the plate down.
Okay, perfect.
Take that one. Okay, I'm gonna put the plate away now.
I don't have access there yet.
We got an angry customer over there as well.
The thing is, when our restaurant tanks, I never see it coming. Everything goes dark and I'm like, what just happened? Meanwhile, he sees us sinking from a mile away, but keeps cooking even when he knows it's in vain. The captain goes down with his ship. Give me burn steak, give me burn steak.
Okay.
Oh my god, we don't have
We don't have a plate. Oh.
No. Ah.
Oh my god, Tarny. That was not looking good from the start that time.
I just love that I'll always look at him with bewilderment when it happens, and he'll explain to me through laughter how we had a line outside wrapped around the corner, 3 tables all ordering the most complicated thing on the menu, and not a clean plate in sight. Onions and tomatoes.
Okay. I'm not gonna make it there. What's the other one?
Onions and olives.
Okay. Deliver that one. Deliver that one. You're freaking me out. We don't have a plate.
Okay, and then tomatoes, and then onions and olives.
Okay, there you go.
What the hell just happened?
We didn't make it.
When? Where? Was it outside?
People were waiting to be seated.
I thought they were more patient waiting to be seated. Because we got the luxury.
I don't know what to tell you.
Every time we end, you're always laughing, and I'm always sitting there confused. Like, what happened?
Because I realized how, like it's really funny. Because, like, I realize like how dire our situation is, and you have like no clue. And then when the restaurant forecloses, I'm just like, well, we did our best, and you're like, what just happened?
I'm sure there's 1,000,001 ways to better optimize how we're running this restaurant, but we're having plenty of fun doing it our way. Not a 5-star by any stretch, but you'd be hard-pressed to find a better plate of lettuce anywhere else on the block.